So without further ado, being here, looking at from the higher institution standpoint, nothing happens in an educational institutions without having an incredible support of the leadership. The people not only believe in the vision, but also provides the resources to make sure the roadblocks, obstacles are removed, and you're given an opportunity to try things, because the things that we are crossing the frontiers have not been traveled before. So I don't anticipate that everything we're going to touch will turn successful. But the failure should not stop us to try something new, and I am so proud to have the support from the leadership in this organization. Our Dean, Jeff Garrett, who joined us 2 years ago, has been an incredible friend of our supply chain initiative and ecosystem. Jeff, thank you for your support to take us this far, and we look forward to taking this institute to the next decade. Welcome. Thank you very much. And we're going to have Jeff actually step up first and sign the mission statement, followed by your welcome speech. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see so many of you here in person. I think at the last Supply Chain Summit, we were in the middle of hybridity, if that's a new word. And it was a challenge to be here in person, but we had lots of Zoomies, and I think we were developing the terminology of Zoomies and Roomies. It's so great to see so many people here this morning. And of course, I know you're here really for two reasons. The first reason is because the content of this event is without peer in the supply chain world. The second reason, though, is that we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of this event, which is just a remarkable institution. And I just want to begin on behalf of everybody by offering my thanks and congratulations to Nick Vyas for everything he's done to build this incredible program at Marshall. And of course, Nick is always outdoing me. I have to aspire higher to match him. Not only is he wearing a tie this morning, but he's wearing a USC tie this morning. And I noticed when I was sitting down here, just the color coordination, everything just was perfect, Nick. So as I said, it's always good to aspire higher, and I need to aspire to match you on many dimensions. Nick gave me actually a relatively large time window to open this event this morning, and I don't want to take all of it. I think the most important thing I could do is to give back some of the time to the substance of the event, because the substance is why you're all here, and we've just got such fantastic expertise on the program. But I did want to react to the core observation that I think Nick made in his opening remarks, which is clearly something we've all been living now for several years. But if you go back 10 years to the first Supply Chain Summit, 2012, the world did look a very different place in 2012. First of all, no one was talking about supply chain. Second, everybody was talking globalization. And boy, the world has changed a lot in that 10-year period. I think when the history books are written, it will look like the epoch of globalization that began in the mid-1980s probably ended around the middle of the financial crisis. The indicators are already telling us that. I think Nick raised the challenge perfectly, summarized the challenge perfectly. Globalization was all about efficiency and cost and choice, and we all benefited enormously from that. Now we understood that all of those things came at a big cost, and we now need to understand resiliency much better than we did in the buccaneering days of globalization. But the challenge for us is not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. How can we leverage all of the opportunities that globalization has provided without putting ourselves at the risks that have become so evident in the past several years with respect to supply chain? That's a monumental issue, I think, and one obviously that is in the headlines almost on a daily basis. So just think about the past week. I guess it's the past week. So on lots of dimensions, a very good week for the Biden administration because two of its signature programs got some real momentum. The first one was about semiconductors and returning the semiconductor industry to the United States. And the second one, obviously, is the not quite passed yet climate, health, etc. bill that has a lot of climate change action in it. The second you dig below the surface of both of those bills, you see that supply chain is at the core of both of them. I was reading in some detail, because I own 2 electric vehicles, how the electric vehicle subsidies, seriously self-interested reading of the bill, how the electric vehicle subsidies were going to work going forward. And it's clear that these are not straight subsidies to people who buy electric vehicles. Economists might argue that those would have some very deleterious consequences and maybe would just raise prices. The core thing that's in the electric vehicles bill is to make sure that more electric vehicles are not only assembled in the United States, but come from components made in the United States. So much so that I read one estimate that said that only one electric vehicle on the market today currently would qualify for the subsidies. That happens to be a Tesla 3, of which I'm a proud owner, so I was very happy about that, but of course I'm not going to get a subsidy for my existing Tesla 3. The supply, I don't need to state the obvious with respect to semiconductors. Just think about the number of Taiwan stories that have come out in the past couple of weeks where below the national security headline, the next line is about the role of TSMC in global production and distribution networks and what should, in a multi-faceted way, the US do about the fact that over the past 20 or 30 years, the US has outsourced semiconductor production to the rest of the world. Ironic, given that all of those techniques were founded in the United States. But the 2 issues I actually wanted to spend a couple of minutes to think about. One's a technology issue and one's a supply chain disruption issue. Neither of them has to do necessarily with the United States, so I thought I'd just talk about them to broaden the conversation a little bit. The first one is, let's do technology first. On Nick's list of go-forward topics, I think probably 5 of the 10 had advanced technology in them: blockchain, digitization, Internet of Things, digital finance, etc. So that's really interesting to me because at the Marshall School, we launched in the spring, maybe it was in the fall, timing could be everything here, a digital assets initiative at the school. And there was so much excitement around that. Of course, then we had the crypto crash. And everything associated with blockchain and advanced technology is now being viewed, read it in the media on a daily basis, is being viewed as fool's gold. There was no there to the world of blockchain. I think people who understand the technology more actually have a more nuanced view, which is to say that associating blockchain with Bitcoin is a really narrow way to think about the possibilities of what blockchain technology might make possible, that is, decentralized ledgers. And that areas like supply chain are absolutely perfect growth areas for the application of blockchain technologies. Now, there are a lot of questions about how that might work out, but if you combine blockchain plus Internet of Things and sensors, I think it's pretty easy to see where the future of supply chain is going to go, supply chain management is going to go, but how are we going to get there, right? Right now, you'd be viewed as crazy if you were investing money in some, I don't know, Ethereum-based supply chain management protocol. Why? Because, gee, those cryptocurrencies, they're all fool's gold. They're not worth anything. You'd be viewed as being crazy to do that, but if you actually look at the venture capital money into blockchain technologies is going up, not going down. The 21 was the highest year. 22 looks like it's going to exceed 21 in terms of VC investment. And I think what the metaphor that is most telling to me is that the people who study this stuff closely say that the world of blockchain today in internet time, in internet 2 time, web 2 time, is like 1995. And when I think back to 1995, I don't think Google had even been invented in 1995. So if we're actually 30 years ago in the way we think about technology with respect to blockchain, you know, we're in the really, really early innings here, but I would expect that what's going to happen over time is that blockchain Internet of Things is going to be decreasingly about tokens. You know, everyone can poke fun as much as you like, and I'm one of the people who enjoys that too, asking questions like, is it Dogecoin or Doggycoin? And who would have come up with such a term? But going forward, that's not where the action's going to be. The action is going to be in massive applications of a decentralized technology. And one of the questions, frankly, for that is whether it remains the domain of really small players or whether we get really big players starting to leverage blockchain at scale. And, you know, I suspect actually there's going to be a lot more of the big player involvement going forward as opposed to all of the, you know, idealistic, stick it to the man, there's going to be no big corporate involvement in this technology, the kind of way that some of the founders have been. So, first observation, if the big theme on supply chain in the last few years has been the interaction with globalization, I suspect going forward that the big theme will be cutting-edge technology and supply chain as a core issue, with, at least for me, the interaction between Internet of Things and blockchain looking the most promising. Okay, thought 1, very incoherent, I apologize for that. Thought 2, just how difficult is the efficiency, resiliency, sustainability? I think those were the three terms, Nick, you had in your triple bottom line. Just how difficult is it to balance all of those? If that's a question, my answer to the question is it's really difficult. And the case I've been thinking about, a lot of people are thinking about right now is Germany. You know, you look at I'll give you my potted history of Germany. The Cold War ended in 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Germany was unified a year later. Germany was already a very green country. They had a powerful green political party, and one of the things that the new German government did was to say we're going to get out of the fossil fuels business. You know, historically there was a lot of coal in Germany. Germany's a manufacturing economy. We don't like that anymore. We're going to try to go a little greener domestically, but we can't do it all domestically. So what are we going to do? We're going to take advantage of the end of the Cold War and build a massive gas pipeline from no longer the Soviet Union, but now Russia to Germany. And then Germany benefited enormously, I think, from the globalization era, above all by using Russian gas to build manufactured products in Germany that was then sold to China. That was the German economy circa 1990 to 2020. Boy, that looks a really bad economic model in 2022. But no, in retrospect, it's obvious that that was a really bad decision. At the time, every politician was clamoring to do more of that because it seemed that it was just a win-win-win for Germany. They could reduce their own emissions. Natural gas is cleaner than coal. We don't have to build the power plants ourselves. We do it. We get it from Russia, which is now part of the Western capitalist economic system. It's really low priced. And boy, the rise of the Chinese market is great for us because everyone in China wants a BMW, an Audi, or a Mercedes. We build them all in Germany and we ship them to China. What a fantastic model. What's Germany going to do today? You know, Russia keeps closing the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. Every day, there are now all these concerns in Germany about what's going to happen not only in the winter, but in the summer. It's an unusually hot summer in Western Europe, and can you even run air conditioners? Do you have enough energy to run air conditioners in Germany is now a real issue. Of course, the German government says we need solidarity from everybody else in Europe, and the EU, I think in an unprecedented move, said that they were going to reduce total energy consumption by 15% this year, just so that there's some chance that Europe will be able to power homes and factories in the coming winter. I don't see that deal can hold. If you look at, sorry to be boringly geopolitical here, but if you look at Italy, a very strong Italian government was just overturned because the Italian government said we want to be part of Europe and we're going to have solidarity with Germany in this energy crisis, plus the Ukraine-Russia war, and the Italian people are going to say no, we don't want that. You know, all this European stuff, that's for the Germans, it's not for us. Stay tuned for what happens in the Italian election going forward. So I don't know, if I was a politician in Germany today, you know, I'd want to be investing in battery technology. I don't want to rely on Russian gas. I'd like to get more LNG coming from the US and other parts of the world. But let's just take the LNG example. You know, I'm Australian. Australia became a big LNG producer and exporter 10 years ago. Talk about supply chain. Building a liquefier costs tens of billions of dollars. Building the regasifiers costs in the billions of dollars. If you want to become reliant on LNG as part of your energy supply, it's going to take you 10 years to do that. What's Germany going to do between now and then? They're going to dig more coal out of the ground because they need to power the homes and the factories in Germany. And the German recession this year is looking the worst recession of any country, certainly in the Western world. So I don't know what I would do, what I would advise the German government as to how to manage this situation. But if you look back, every decision they made that looked brilliant at the time looks really dumb in retrospect. And it was about this balance of the efficiency of globalization versus resiliency of supply chain. That's it. That's the core issue. And it's going to affect what happens in Western Europe, not only in Germany, but in Western Europe and in NATO and in the European geopolitical environment for years to come, if not decades to come. You know, some people think that the euro, which was an incredible political creation 20 years ago, might actually blow up. There might not be a euro in a year's time, 2 years' time. I think that's probably a bit histrionic. But if it was to happen, it would happen because Germany's supply chain decisions in retrospect look wrong. And, you know, that's amazing. So there's a lot, obviously, an enormous amount that's going to be going on in the United States with respect to reshoring, friendshoring, building advanced manufacturing, building all the logistics. around that in the coming years. And I don't know if Randy Kendrick is on the line, but you know, Randy is a visionary and has seen that a lot of that is going to happen in Texas. I think a challenge for those of us in California is how do we compete with Texas to make sure it all doesn't happen in Texas. But you know, if you think about things like having a new Tesla gigafactory in Texas plus a Samsung semiconductor factory in Texas, right? Those are convergent forces, and they're all about the rebalancing away from globalization that's happened in the last 5 to 10 years. Texas certainly will benefit. I think the US will benefit. Challenge for us in California, how can we figure out how to benefit too? But let me just end by saying this is not only a US issue, it's a global issue, and I think the really invidious position that Germany is in today, based on its supply chain choices, is just a very good example of that, and a really important example. So Nick, I'm going to stop speaking now. If I can establish eye contact with you and you'll tell me it's a good time for me to stop speaking. Otherwise, I'll flap my hands and dance and do something else. Would you like me to stop speaking now? We're going to do some awarding. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.